Thank you for that. Next, we have Ms. Carol Rogers, the director of the Indiana Business Research Center at the greatest university in America and the returning national champions, Indiana University's Kelley School of Business. Ms. Rogers is an expert at making complex data useful for real-world decisions. She serves on boards of several national organizations focused on economic research and labor market information. Ms. Rogers, you are now recognized for 5 minutes to deliver your opening statement.
Thank you so much, Chairman Banks, Ranking Member Hickenlooper, and members of the subcommittee, and it's a beautiful day out there. So thank you for being here to listen to us. I was actually thrilled to have this opportunity to testify today on the impact of AI on the workforce. It is a real issue. There are some knowns, many more unknowns, some unknown knowns, and we could go on, but I'd have to remember the movie that came from. I do come here as a subject matter from that great university in Indiana, but my views don't necessarily reflect those of my employer, the university. So I want to just make that clear. As director of the center, and thank you so much for giving those remarks about my experience, Chairman Banks, because I can cut out a little bit on describing why I'm here. But certainly the thing we have been doing since 1925, when the university trustees of Indiana University created our center, was to help people in Indiana understand our population, our economies, our workforces, and I say plural because we have many, to provide them with evidence-based data and research. So getting on to the impact on the workforce, generative and agentic AI, I like to kind of differentiate a little bit. AI generically is many things, but certainly those two have evolved very quickly in the 4 years since ChatGPT's public release to the world. Nearly 20% of US firms today, and actually not today, it was February 19th, in a survey by the US Census Bureau, nearly 20% report using AI in some business function. Harvard's Project on Workforce has surveys looking at the uptake of AI, particularly generative AI, and they're finding that 62% of adults between the ages of 18 to 64, which is kind of our prime training and education workforce, are using generative AI, and workers in that population are reporting spending about 6.5% of their work hours a week using it. That's kind of hard information. It's useful information. We'd like to see more like that. My center recently published findings comparing high and low AI exposed occupations in our state, meaning that they have tasks in those jobs that some proportion of them could be done by agentic AI. So when we say exposed, in some ways you could say they're exposed to the risk of AI. In another way, you could look at it as exposed to an opportunity with AI. Like many academicians, I talk with one hand and then say on the other hand, so you'll have to forgive me, but we see both. Notably, we found that job postings in those exposed occupations actually shrank. Postings for AI exposed jobs, and many of those were in technology, shrank since 2022, versus 35% decline in those less exposed, the jobs that require human touch as opposed to artificial touch. Wages in those exposed occupations, though, grew faster, but at the same time, those jobs lost their employment advantage. And think about some of the things that we've seen over the last several months about college graduates not finding employment as quickly as they used to. Think about jobs or occupations that people have where they don't have that 2 or 3% below unemployment that we used to have, people with bachelor's degrees, master's degrees. However, taking this together, what I've described, and it's not enough, taking it together, it looks more like mass job elimination rather than, or it looks less like mass job elimination, more like market-based pricing and reallocation. This bill matters. I'm running out of time, so I want to say very clearly that I support the bill and its goal to collect data, to have better data, and my plea is that we create standards for the definitions so that we compare apples to apples. Oh, I actually have 45 more seconds here?
No, you've gone over
I'm done?
45.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Dr. Leah Polakoff Gashvili. I practiced that all week, and I probably still messed it up. Senior Research Fellow and Director of the Labor Policy Project at the Mercatus Center at George Mason University. She is a labor economist whose research focuses on independent workers and how labor markets evolve. Thank you for being with us, Doctor. You have 5 minutes for your opening remarks.
Good afternoon, Chairman Banks, Ranking Member Hickenlooper, and members of the subcommittee. It is an honor to testify before you. My name is Leah Polakoff Gashvili. I'm a labor economist and director of the Labor Policy Project at the Mercatus Center at George Mason University, where my research examines the changing nature of work and how policy can help build a resilient labor market. Let me start with the most fundamental point. The early evidence does not yet show broad AI-driven employment loss. Much of the public debate asks whether AI will take jobs, but economists think of jobs as a bundle of tasks. So automating one task doesn't mean the whole job disappears. AI can automate some tasks, augment others, raise productivity, and change how firms organize production. Recent studies find little noticeable change in employment, unemployment, earnings, or hours at AI-adopting workplaces. According to a Census Bureau survey, about 95% of AI-using firms report no change in total employment. That does not mean nothing is happening. It means the adjustment is more complicated than a simple story of mass displacement. The clearest evidence of potential concern is concentrated among young workers entering highly exposed occupations. Recent research finds employment declining for young workers in the most AI-exposed fields without a matching rise in unemployment, a pattern more consistent with slower hiring than with layoffs. This can be a serious concern. However, the evidence is still mixed. According to research from the Economic Innovation Group, hiring in many highly exposed occupations actually began declining in the spring of 2022, so 6 to 8 months before ChatGPT even existed. Employment outcomes have also weakened among young workers with little AI exposure at all, including teenagers working mostly in food service and retail. The broader pattern points towards macroeconomic factors as much as AI. So the right conclusion is not that AI is irrelevant. It is that the picture is still mixed, and to the extent employment effects exist so far, they look like a slower hiring pipeline for younger workers, not layoffs.